colleagues, and friends. Welcome to the plenary closing session of the 14th International Conference on the History and Archaeology of Jordan, Culture in Crisis, Flows of People, Artifacts, and Ideas. I leave the floor to the magnificent rector of the University of Florence, Professor Luigi Dei.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am very glad to be here at the plenary closing session of the 14th International Conference on the History and Archaeology of Jordan. It's truly a great pleasure for me to give the warm greetings and wishes by the University of Florence and my personal ones. When scholars and researchers meet to discuss the most advanced studies in a particular field of research, it's always pleasant for rector to welcome all the attending people. University, as you know, has three main missions: research, education, and technology transfer. As you can imagine, the role of the university is really crucial, taking into account these aspects. And it's truly wonderful when researchers meet to discuss the most recent advances in their various fields of research. You have chosen as a theme of this edition of your conference, Culture in Crisis, Flows of People, Artifacts, and Ideas, adds value to the scientific commitment to interpret crisis as an accelerator of historical processes and as a release and spread of creative energy among social cultural groups. What a wonderful subject. Nowadays, scientific research is made by groups rather than by single scientists or researchers. Researchers work in cooperation, often breaking barriers among nations and states, since research is international and universal by definition. I believe that universities and more in general research centers around the world can give a strong lesson about the incredible and profitable task of cooperating, working together, and sharing results. Science and research are by definition builder of bridges and breaker of walls. And I believe that in present times, the world of knowledge, science, and research can teach to many politicians this important warning: cooperation against competition. In the same way as research has succeeded in the last decades to create progress and increase the life quality, thanks to this idea of solidarity, cooperation, and sharing, I believe nations and states should, and I add must, succeed in using similar approaches to solve the problems of interactions among individuals. I hope you can draw an optimum feedback from this meeting. I wish you the best success even for your future researches, and I invite you also to enjoy with us some of our cultural heritage beauties. Thank you for your attention.
Her Excellency, the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Italy, Emanuela Claudia Del Re.
Excellencies, no, non funziona. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this 14th International Conference on the History and Archaeology of Jordan, the most authoritative, scientific forum on archaeological research in one of the richest cultural areas of the Middle East. It is a great honor and a testimony to our friendly relations with the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan that this year the conference has been hosted by the University of Florence, with the financial support of my government and of UNESCO in the heart of Florence, which is included in the UNESCO World Heritage List itself. Let me first express my gratitude to His Royal Highness Prince El Hassan Bil Talal, who is not with us today, but gave a key contribution by sponsoring this triennial prestigious international conference, to the Department of the Antiquities of Jordan, and last but not least, to the University of Florence for its academic guidance. At the onset, I would like to reaffirm, in my capacity of Deputy Minister in charge of development cooperation, Italy's deep and enduring commitment to the preservation of world heritage. Our engagement is a direct and, I would say, logic consequence of the exceptionality of the high number of historic and archaeological sites located in Italy. It is an enduring commitment which is widely shared both at institutional level and in our civil society. Taking cue from yesterday's special event on culture in crisis-affected areas, I would like to stress once again the close interrelation between preservation of cultural heritage and promotion of the humanitarian values of tolerance and peaceful coexistence at the root of our common civilization. Building self-confidence, especially amongst the youth, on the value of cultural heritage and shared history is the best way to stabilize crisis-affected areas and countries devastated by war and iconoclastic furor. As highlighted by Prince El Hassan in his opening speech, when he referred to the senseless destruction of archaeological sites in the region, the preservation of cultural heritage begins with the engagement and empowerment of local communities. Among the many challenges to the preservation of world heritage, nowadays the reconstruction of Mosul is outstanding. Let us heed the call of UNESCO in its endeavor towards this goal. This year, the conference put an emphasis on public archaeology and social economic development. Moreover, preserving the memories of our past means fostering economic growth, professional opportunities for youth, and social stability. To this specific point, I recall that Italy recently approved a funding to UNESCO for the initiative Jordanian and Syrian Youth for Heritage Conservation and Risk Prevention in Petra, which aims at reducing landslides risks while providing employment opportunities to Jordanian and Syrian youth in the sector of cultural heritage preservation. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude my remarks with a strong call for every single participant to intensify, each one in her or his daily activity, the protection of world heritage that has, in the archaeological site of Petra, one of the most valuable examples, whose fame will be preserved and handed over to the new generations, learning from the past to build a better future, aware of the fact that cultural expressions are a most valuable element contributing to peace, stability, inclusion, and progress. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you for all your productive work.
The co-director of CAMNES, co-organizer of the conference, CAMNES Center for Ancient Mediterranean and Near Eastern Studies, Dr. Guido Guarducci.
Good afternoon. Your Excellencies, dear colleagues, Thank you very much for being here today. We have reached the conclusion of the 14th edition of the International Conference on the History and the Archaeology of Jordan. It has been a true honor for my institution, CAMNES, to participate in the organization and of this broad and important event. We truly hope that your stay in Florence, attending the conference, as well as visiting our city, was interesting and satisfying as it was for us to coordinate this event. Before giving you some insight on this edition and addressing more specifically my thanks, I would like to briefly spend some words on the general theme of this edition, a theme that is and must be source of inspiration, and at the same time an objective to reach and somehow take care of. The core topic of this 14 Ichaj are the concepts of culture and that of crisis, two important aspects that carry a heavy burden, which sometimes we tend to forget or use rather casually. Culture. Most of us here are archaeologists, and we tend to focus on the material dimension of this concept. Paraphrasing Louis Binford in 1965, he stated that material culture, more than reflecting a society and the people that made it, it transforms society. Hence, materiality plays an active and important role in its fact. In its fact, simultaneously, it is cause and effect, by also conveying part of the cultural traits and values of those that produced and or used it. Nevertheless, materiality is only a part of the broader concept of culture and its heritage. So what is culture? The definition elaborated by Michael Shanks, based on the structuralist principles, claims that culture is the social production and reproduction of meaning, or, as Bourdieu postulated, our habitus, and therefore the production and reproduction of identity. In other words, culture, in all its manifestations and practices, material and immaterial, is a paramount aspect in building, preserving, and recreating the identity of a community, whether we're talking about a settlement of the third millennium or a modern nation. In this perspective, UNESCO, more than others, has developed the evolution of this concept, breaking all boundaries, nationalisms, and fundamentalisms, the concept of world heritage, which may be read as a principle of common culture or common identity. Two sides of the same coins, belonging to and transforming all humanity. Crisis. This word and the concept behind it is commonly associated to a state of emergency, where the parameters of a specific context and situation start to decay and become unstable. A critical turning point in the lifespan of someone or something. As Guido Guarducci aptly pointed out during the Ichaj opening session, the Greek roots of this term highlights also another and crucial value of this concept, that of decision, krisis, decision from krinein, decide. We must therefore decide how to act during and after this harsh period of conflict and cultural decadence. Not only a period of Eastern crisis, but also a period of Western crisis, as the recent secession and closing approach of the US and several European countries, including Italy, underlines. So culture in crisis, but also crisis of culture. During yesterday's special event, in this respect, we have briefly analyzed and explored a specific and also privileged vantage point and modus operandi, that related to the archaeologist's profile. The traditional and at times anachronistic conception that sees an archaeologist as a mere technician and or an academic, closed in a lab, perhaps in a library, or worse, excavating an area with a colonial approach, completely detached from its modern context, which in some cases endures in many countries, again, including Italy, must cease. Archaeologists, due to their broad knowledge, not only of the heritage of a specific country, civilization, or site, but also of its territory, its people, its traditions, as well as its issues and also its potential, are called to serve as cultural mediators, or at least they should be. That is, aid for the culture in crisis, protection, reconstruction, restoration, technical and historical advice, data analysis and study, along with local community training for all these practices, together, obviously, with the people in charge of these. operations. And also, as we said, aid for the crisis of culture, communication, management, education, in a nutshell, public archaeology. The synergy of these two complementary aspects must characterize and, where needed, forge a new approach to this professional figure, from both who decides to become an archaeologist and from whom interacts or should interact with her or him. Under the auspices of a strict collaboration where possible with politicians, administrators, other scientists, law enforcement agencies, computer experts, and any other profile reconstructing our cultural heritage during and after a crisis. I think that you agree if I say that all of us truly and deeply hope that this approach will become a standard procedure and not an enlightened option. Okay, so, changing subjects. Consider that CAMNES coordinated also the scientific secretariat. I would like to give you a few numbers on the Ichaj Florentine edition. This conference was attended by 407 registered people, including 66 listeners, coming from a total of 24 countries, including 104 from Italy, 91 from Jordan, 51 from the US, 33 from Germany, 27 from Poland, 18 from France, etc. In total, were delivered 283 communications within 53 sessions, counting this one, including 2 keynotes, 32 speeches, 13 posters, and 236 papers. Without further ado, I would like to thank His Royal Highness Prince Al-Hassan bin Talal for his presence and especially for his inspiring words pronounced during the opening session and yesterday's interview. Moreover, I would like to deeply thank the Department of Antiquities of Jordan, its director Yazid El Ayan, for the strong and active support all along this perilous journey, and in particular Anadi Al-Taher and Omar Nofal for their constant help. Naturally, I must thank the University of Florence, in particular Guido Vannini and Michele Nucciotti, for including us in this terrific and at the same time mad project. A sincere and admired thank you goes out to our strict collaborators and friends, Chiara Molducci, Elisa Pruno, Lapo Somigli, Francesca Cheli, Andrea Biondi, Chiara Marco Tulli, Laura Torsellini, and Laura Lazzarini. Thank you all for sharing this madness. Not done. My final but most profound thank you goes to our staff, in particular the chiefs Valentina Santini and Raffaele Ranieri, but also our Blue Angels, Benedetta, Dimitri, Gemma, Diletta, Leonardo, Giacomo, Sofia, Chiara, Miriam, Arianna, Martina, Anna Maria, Silvia, and Giulia, without whom simply the conference would not have been so successful. Finally, thank you, academic and scientific colleagues, for your tremendous work. Please continue what you do, but with an open eye and an open hand for our culture in crisis and our crisis of culture. Thank you all.
Thank you, Guido. Who's speaking next? Me. Finally. So, well, basically, I just have a few notes. I consider that we have already thanked and acknowledged our supporting institution, and so I won't go through the list that this audience has already listened to in the opening, but of course we are very grateful to all supporting institutions, especially because they were not supporting institutions from a faraway place. They did participate actively to the conference, and this is not something that always or very often happens, so thank you to them. Then I'd like to mention a few persons that for me, and for us with Guido, were key to the organization of this conference. So I'd like please to ask to stand up to Dr. Elisa Pruno. Please, Elisa. My colleague in the organizing committee, because you have to know that it was Elisa's first idea when we were in the last Ichaj in Amman to propose Florence University for this edition. So we had to convince Guido, but it was not very difficult. So thank you, Elisa, and thank you, Guido, of course, for the proposal. Then I would like to thank our two focal points of the organizing committee from Jordan, Hanadi Al-Tahir and Aktam Oweidi. If you could please stand, Hanadi and Aktam. Aktam is standing already in the... Really, we kept sharing phone calls even during Islamic and Christian weekends, Fridays, Sundays. In the last few months, every day was a working day, so thank you very much. Then already Guido thanked our fantastic staff, their kindness and professionality. They are all students of the courses of archaeology of Florence University, Bonn University, and also CAMNES. I think really, okay, we already have thanked them, but I wanted to do that myself as well. But I want also to thank the real engine of this conference, because as organizer, we prepared the game board, let's say, but then there was a real engine. This engine were the chairpersons. Thank you very, very much for chairing the sessions. Without you, the whole conference just would have not been happened. Thank you very much. Then, of course, last but not least, you can imagine, His Royal Highness Prince Al Hassan bin Talal, for the generosity with his time that he shared with us and with this conference, both in the public events and also in the private meeting of Ichaj, where when His Royal Highness wanted to meet with the scientific and organizing committee at the mid of the conference. And of course, Royal Highness Nofa shows me, of course, the Director General Elayan, but I will thank in the end because of, thank you. He's the organizer together with us. So what news did this conference bring to the Ichaj experience using the advice of His Royal Highness? Well, I want to remember particularly 2 points in our academic program. First, there was a session of Middle Ages and Ottoman period instead of separate sessions for Islamic and Crusader archaeology. So we wanted to unify our discourse in order to discuss together and to break parallel narratives in order to gather and creatively contribute to new elaboration and interpretation for Jordanian and Mediterranean Middle Ages. Then also the launching of the thematic session Jordan in Global History that responded specifically to a request and advice of His Royal Highness. Then before my very conclusion, I want to briefly re-speak of what would be the legacy of Ichaj 14. Of course, this is just a little part of the legacy, but it's 2 initiatives that in a way would continue to broadcast the echo of our works here after the conference will be finished. So one is the exhibition, The Land of Jordan, curated by Andrea Polcaro and myself, which will tour Italian and Jordanian universities in 2019. And the second is the tourist guidebook, Florence and Islamic Culture, supported by Talal Abu Ghazaleh Organization and Laboratori Archeologici San Gallo. These are little legacies, but they somehow will stay here when we will be all back to our university houses, homes, etc. What else? My personal thanks to all colleagues and participants for the commitment demonstrated in the past 3 years of organizational activities and in the past 5 days of conference works. It was really a great privilege for me. Thank you. And now the important communication. So I leave the floor to His Excellency, the Director General of the Department of Antiquities of Jordan, Mr. Yazid El-Ayyan, for the conclusions of the works of the 14th International Conference on the History and Archaeology of Jordan.
Thank you, Michele. And you didn't let me thank anybody for that. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Your Excellencies, dear distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. It is an honor for the Department of Antiquities and the University of Florence to witness today for the short. This is the problem I faced everywhere, in the bus, in the car, and the. It is honor for the Department of Antiquities and the University of Florence to witness today the success of this conference, Ichaj 14. Large number of scientific papers has addressed the themes of the conference with thoughtful and new insights, focusing on the impact of crisis on the heritage, environment, and mankind. Today, I am talking on behalf of everyone here. We are honored by the participation of His Royal Highness Prince Al-Hassan bin Talal in this conference and his continuous support and inspiring words and action in pursuing the preservation of cultural heritage, the empowerment of people, and increasing the understanding of the present through the lessons of the past. I would like to thank all the members of the scientific and organizing committees. Especially thank goes to the head of the scientific committee, Professor Guido Guarducci, and the University of Florence for their continuous support, and the Toscana Region Authority and the Municipality of Florence for their hospitality. This occasion, we have not to forget the community, commitment and the continuous support of Her Royal Highness Princess Sumaya bint Al-Hassan to this conference and its objective. We miss this time her inspired presence in this scientific forum. We are looking forward for her participation in the next conference, inshallah. I would like to conclude with some recommendations. One, enhance the efforts to prevent the illicit trafficking of archaeological artifacts through endorsement of selected international convention and agreement. Two, give priority to the use of the new technologies in documenting movable artifacts in museums and warehouses, and continue the development of the national inventory. Three, updating of the archaeological sites documented in Mega Jordan through especially republishing the list in Jordanian official gazette for improving law enforcement. Four, empower of the local communities by activating their roles in managing and preserving their cultural heritage through establishing local organization. In conclusion, I would also like to say that we received many proposals to host the next Ichaj conference in 2022. We will announce that later. It's very difficult to choose now because something we need to talking about with the in the Department of Antiquities and maybe with the Royal Highness Prince Al Hassan. Before we leave this wonderful celebration, I would like to say something more, but in Arabic. Please be patient for just 1 minute. إخواني الحضور الكرام، إنه ليسعدني أننا في هذا الختام نكون قد طوينا 40 سنة من نجاح هذا المؤتمر الدولي لآثار الأردن، وكان هذا المؤتمر مميزا بحضور صاحب السمو الملكي الأمير الحسن بن طلال ومتابعته أعمال المؤتمر طوال أيام انعقاده، مما ترك أثرا طيبا في نفوس المشاركين والمستضيفين على حد سواء. ولقد كان لكلمات سمو الأميرة سمية التي قالت فيها أنها تتمنى لو كانت معنا بهذا المؤتمر أثرا عميقا في نفوسنا، لدرجة أننا لم نستطع التعبير وقت الافتتاح بأية ألفاظ نصف الشعور الممتزج بالأسى والشعور بالاعتزاز أنها تتابع أخبارنا وتتمنى نجاحنا، راجين من الله أن تشاركنا افتتاح المؤتمر القادم. كما أنني وباسم دائرة الآثار العامة أتوجه بالشكر للحكومة الإيطالية ورئيس مقاطعة توسكانا ولجامعة فلورنسا على تنظيمها واجتهادهم ودعمهم لإنجاح المؤتمر، كما أشكر كافة اللجان المشاركة التوجيهية والعلمية والتنظيمية على جهدهم الذي قدموه خلال الشهور الماضية وحتى اليوم. وصعب نذكر بعد ما ذكر الجامعة ذكرت أسماء الجميع، راجيا في هذه المناسبة التأكيد أن الترتيبات التي تمت لهذا المؤتمر مرت بلحظات صعبة، مما ترك أثرا على هذا التنظيم بصورة أو بأخرى. ولكنني أحب أن أؤكد لكم جميعا أننا في دائرة الآثار العامة نثمن ونقدر ونفتخر بكل المشاركين، وأننا نقيم اعتبارا لكل واحد منكم، ونحفظ احترام مناصبكم العلمية والإدارية سواء بجامعاتنا أو في دائرة الآثار العامة وفي كل المؤسسات المشاركة، وأننا سنظل نعتبر الجميع أسرة علمية واحدة تعمل لصالح حفظ تراثنا ومواقعنا الأثري للأجيال القادمة، لنضمن كتابة تاريخنا الحضاري بالصورة البهية وبالطريقة التي تليق بهذا التاريخ. وشكرنا الموصول للذين ظلوا معنا يحضرون فعاليات المؤتمر وأوراقه العلمية من قاعة إلى أخرى ومن مكان إلى آخر، ويتابعون حاجات ومطالب المؤتمر من توثيق وتحديث للمعلومات ومن تصوير ومن نقل التوجيهات للأطراف المعنية، والذين قاوموا مغريات التمتع بجمال المدينة والفنون التي تنتشر في أحيائها وفي المدن الإيطالية المجاورة لها، حرصا منهم على ضمانة إنجاح هذا المؤتمر، فلهم كل الشكر والعرفان والامتنان. وكذلك كل الشكر لكل من شارك بهذا المؤتمر سواء بورقة أو حضر للاستماع أو حضر للمشاركة أو قدم أي جهد ساهم في إنجاح هذا المؤتمر. ولا بد أيضا أن نشكر بشكل خاص ضباط الارتباط والتنسيق، وهم طبعا إليزا وذكرت، والست هنادي الطاهر التي قدمت جهدا كبيرا وضحت بوقتها الثمين خلال الشهور الماضية وصبرت على مطالبنا التي لم تنتهي حتى الآن، راجيا أن تتمكن من إنجاز آخر المهمات وهي صرف الفواتير. صرفت الفواتير لسه. وبالختام نتمنى أن تكون هذه اللحظات لحظات روحانية وفيها المحبة وفيها الأخوة، وأن نلتقي دائما كأسرة علمية في المؤتمرات القادمة بإذن الله تعالى، ونحن نتوج بصحة أميرنا وأميرتنا إن شاء الله. ونتمنى أن يكون الاختيار بالأردن حتى نستضيفكم، ونستمتع بوجودكم معنا إن شاء الله ونشاهد البتراء وجرش مع بعض. شكرا لكم جميعا.
Shukran jazilan, Your Excellency. So the closing session is over. We wait for you and for all of us for farewell aperitif and light lunch in the Caponi Palace shortly. So see you there. Thank you very much for attending, for working, for everything. Thank you.